openly support this president. This is why the Washington Post has resurrected and the discredited Russia hoax to smear moderate Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell as a Russian stooge. Yeah, they're calling him Moscow Mitch, and there's been threats to Mitch McConnell on Twitter. But here's the question on many minds. The question on many minds is, how low will Democrats go? Well, Representative Joaquin Castro said, "Hold my beer." Representative Joaquin Castro, Texas, may have answered that in a recent tweet. In an effort to publicly shame the president's supporters, Castro, who is the campaign chairman of his brother Julian Castro's failing Democratic presidential campaign, he's at less than 1%, doxed 44 private citizens in the San Antonio area who donated to Trump's re-election campaign. Quote, "Sad to see so many in San Antonio's as 2019 maximum donors to Donald Trump, the owners of this barbecue joint, historic Pearl realtor Phyllis Browning, etc." Castro tweeted from his campaign account, "They're aliens from outer space. I'm not saying they're ET. I'm not saying they're not human. I'm telling you what their status is as far as being in our country. And there isn't a country in the world where you can just walk in the country without having people know you're there, or not having people know who you are." Okay? I was laughing because a buddy of mine just got back from Jamaica. Okay? And he had to go through customs in Jamaica. They had to show his passport, and he had to stay, had to have the proper paperwork. He couldn't just go into Jamaica willy-nilly and kick his ass out. But no, he had his passport and everything he needed to be in Jamaica. Okay? He was legally there. Every country in the world. When I went to Nigeria, man, when you go through customs in Nigeria, especially if you're an American, they dig through your suitcases. They're all up in your stuff. And when you leave, they're all up in your stuff. Since I bought some little pieces of artwork and souvenirs when I came back from, and little gifts for friends of mine when I came back from Nigeria. And on the way out, they go through all your suitcases, go through everything you brought, and I had some of these they were little bottle openers made out of wood, and they shaped like a fish, and then it has a little metal thing in there so you can open bottles with it. And the I don't know what you call them, for lack of a better word, the customs agent on my way out was asking me, "Now what are these? What are these? Why do you have these?" And I'm like, "They're souvenirs I bought. What are they for? Who are they for? What are they for?" There isn't a country in the world where you can just walk across the border and be welcome to stay. Okay? Not Mexico, not Guatemala, not Honduras, not Ecuador. Okay? None of those Central American countries. You can't just walk into Ecuador and say, "Okay, I'm here. I'm gonna just set up shop here." No, you got to go through a process. So, is it crazy that you have to go through a process to be in the United States? Okay, I'm just making sure everything's working here. Good. So anyway, so he makes this. So basically, this is a dog whistle hit list. It's a dog whistle hit list. So he's got this list of 44 people he puts out on Twitter. Hey, here's a list of people we can throw on a list on Twitter. Do with it what you will. I just put it out there. These are Trump supporters. Like, it's not like people would do any violence to Trump supporters, right? It's not like they're sitting out on Mitch McConnell's doorstep, right? Screaming and yelling at him. So anyway, the information is public record and accessible online. But most people don't spend their time searching for the political donations of private citizens. I bet they're going to start now that this example out here. That's the thing. And you think, some are like, "Well, why are you worried about it? Are you embarrassed to be a Trump supporter?" Hell, I'm not a Trump supporter. But I swear to God, if I was, I'd be ready to whip someone's ass. Because now you got to look over your shoulder. Because these people are telling, he's out here. Now look, so he's saying, listen to his sentence again. "Their contributions are fueling a campaign of hate that labels Hispanic immigrants as invaders." Let me give you a list of people who are fueling a campaign of hate that lists Hispanic immigrants, illegal immigrants, or people who immigrated illegally. How's that sound? So I'm not calling them illegal. I'm telling you what they did. They came across our border illegally. Is that okay to say? So what do you do when someone says, well, here's a list of people who are fueling hate, who are hate-filled, who are hate mongers. Maybe we should, here, it's just a list. Do with it what you will. Democrats do this for one reason and one reason only: to dog whistle their thuggish supporters, as well as their allies in the deep state, to harass and bully their opponents' donors. Well, you know what? I think I'm going to do this today. I'm going to make a list of, who's his brother's name? Julian Castro. I think I'm going to get a public record out and make a list of Julian Castro's donors and tweet out, sad to see so many San Antonios as 2019 maximum donors to Julian Castro, the owner of this place, and this person retired, and this person, and this person. Their contributions are fueling the flood of illegal immigrations across our borders because he believes in open borders. And then I'll put a list of all those people who's funding Julian Castro. 2019, these San Antonio donors contributed the most allowable by federal law. Now, well, no, this is Joaquin. This is the congressman. His brother Julian is the one running for president. Hello, Max Del Rio, by the way. And hey, Longfish. Hello, Green Badger Outdoors, and Cynical Lindsay. How you doing? Nice to have you here. So, maybe I'll make a list of that and I'll tweet that out, and I'll tag Joaquin Castro on that tweet. But here's what I think I'll do. I won't put any real names out there because I don't want to give somebody the false reason to attack people, okay? But I do think, so I'll make a list of just fake names, and maybe at the bottom in small letters, I'll type out something like, see, I think maybe you really understand what you were doing, and that's why I didn't put any real people on this list. Perhaps you should take your list down. So some of the responses to Joaquin Castro, here's one. You don't have to support the Democrats, but just know that they'll try to destroy you if you don't. Yeah, that's just it. If you don't support them, they're going to try and destroy you. Wow, dude, you're garbage. That's succinct and accurate. Yes, he is absolutely garbage. If any of these donors are physically harmed, Castro shares some of the blame. I'd say he would share all the blame because he's the one who put their names out there. Now, granted, there's people who can go out and look for these donors. Now, and they probably here's what's pissed me off. So now we're gonna get a bunch of copycat lists, okay, all over the country, and I'm telling you, this is a congressman putting this out. Are you kidding me? Rob Edno, this is exactly why I moved away from disclosure of donors and all campaign finance reforms limits. This doxing of donors and their companies is used for one thing, to get them hurt. Exactly. Camry, whatever this name is, this is not a good look for you, brother. Joe the Dissident, political candidate should not be holding up law-abiding private citizens for public ridicule and whatever that is. Period. Shame on you, Joaquin Castro. If real Donald Trump targeted small business owners who back Democrat candidates, the media would go insane. Yes, they would. Jesse Kelly, Democrat elected officials have now compared our Border Patrol agents to Nazi camp guards, called for sending law enforcement to homes to confiscate weapons, and published the names and employers of Trump supporters. Elected officials. You're never getting my guns. Yeah, I'm not a gun person, but damn, I'm getting to a point where I might end up having to become a gun person just these lunatics. Although, again, Well, now if this was something like MoveOn.org that did this, or if this was, some random dickhead, I could understand being this crappy. But this is a sitting congressman. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's embarrassing. I can't believe this. Hello, Maddie. How you doing? Hi, Maniac Man. Straight Sith Male. Welcome to the show. So, real quick, just a reminder to everybody that the Morning Night Live is brought to you by you, the viewers and people in the chat of the Morning Night Live. My thing is dropping again. It's driving me nuts. Do me a favor, just while you're thinking about it, if you want to hit the share button. By the way, thank you, Maddie. This morning put out the tweet of the show. I did not, silly me, but I did. I retweeted Maddie. Sarah. What am I doing? Not Sarah, not Maddie, Sarah. And so here, I'm going to put that in the chat, and you can tweet that out if you're on Twitter, or you can just hit the share button down below. What the hell is going on with this thing? Okay, give me a second. All right. Oh my God, what is going on here? I'm trying to tighten this and it's not tightening. Hang on. All right, that should be better. Or not, I don't care. Here we go. So anyway, tweet it. I hit the share button, put it on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Tumblr, whatever things you use, Reddit, all that good stuff. And also we do super chats through Streamlabs, which is in the description down below. And every month I put the last month's donors who've done things on Streamlabs or donations in the outro. If you haven't noticed, I do thank you there. So thank you for everyone who contributes over the last several months since we've been doing this. This is our 128th show. And thanks to all those who contributed as far as after we got had our little mishap in San Francisco, I was able to replace my camera, which you're looking at me through now, and also I've been able to replace my microphone. So, so far that's been great, and eventually I will replace my laptop and all the other stuff. But I'm only doing that through the donations that you guys give, and you've been so generous, and I really, really appreciate it. So let's keep going here. So that was my dominant news story of the day, and I accidentally closed the other one. Now, back onto this thing, though, really, really, really annoying is, let's see if Joe Scarborough's still up here. I had him on here. It's funny. I want people who don't retweet and or post others people's work on Twitter are selfish. And frankly, given how easy it is to support people on Twitter, I find it obscene when people don't. Yeah, I don't know what that means. Not everybody on the left was happy with Joaquin Castro. Let's see if I can. I want to talk about this a little more because it's really frustrating. So here, hang on. Here we go. Joaquin Castro. Yeah, he thinks he wants to be part of the squad now. There's no time to devalue this world, but this is a terroristic threat. Joaquin Castro smears constituents as hate mongers, knowing full well that what violent left has often done when drunk on the outrage of political bigotry. This cannot stand. This is him talking about Joaquin Castro. But there's other people like Joe Scarborough. Joe Scarborough, this is just it. This is what this person. I applaud Joaquin Castro. More Dems need to follow his and Beto's lead and stop playing Mr. Nice Guy in response to a president that encourages bigotry and violence among his racist base. That we can go high crap is cute, but it doesn't work. Bravo, expose his donors. Really? I would say FTG. That's what I would say. FTG. But that's, you know what? That's what's going to happen. You watch. Now we're going to start seeing on Twitter a bunch of different people doing the same thing. This is contemptible. I'm sorry. It just is. Oh, funny how racists don't like being exposed. Bitch, you if you cannot stand by your donations unequivocally, then don't donate to racist candidates. That's not the problem here. They probably do stand by their donations. That's not what Castro did here. He's not exposing donors. The donors are already on public lists. Okay. And this is funny how the racists don't. No, this is a call to attack those people. And that's what it is. It has nothing to do about whether or not they are stand by their donations. I'm sure a vast majority of them do stand by their donations. And they should if they believe what they're doing. These Oscar too. These businesses are racist, and if you're still patronizing them, you're racist too. If you're not with me, you're if you're not with us, you're against us. Sound familiar? Sound familiar? Sounds like George W. Bush, doesn't it? If you're not with us, you're against us. If these businesses are racist, if you're patronizing them, you're a racist too. Really? F off. Imagine being outraged because someone released public information. That's not what he did. There's a purpose behind this. Oh, here's later. Joaquin Castro. Targeting and harassing Americans because of their political beliefs is shameful and dangerous. What happened to when they go low, we go high? Or does that no longer matter when your brother is polling at 1%? Americans deserve better. That's Kevin McCarthy, the House Majority Leader. Castro, no one was targeted or harassed in my post. You know that? All that info is routinely published? You're trying to distract from the racism that has overtaken the GOP and the fact that President Trump spends his donor money on thousands of ads about Hispanics invading America? Really? Donald Trump has put a target on the backs of millions. No, he hasn't. God, dog, he has not. That's just stupid. And you're too cowardly or agreeable to say anything about it. How about I stop mentioning Trump's public campaign donors and he stops using their money for ads that fuel hate? Show me the ad that fuels hate, Joaquin. Show me the ad that fuels hate. And the only reason he did this was he wants to injure those people. Not because they don't stand behind their donations, but because now his little minions and the little Antifa, the LARPers can run around and harass these people. All right, I need to do something about this. This is driving me nuts. Let's try this. All right, that'll work. What else is down here? You put out a hit list. That's exactly what he did. It's a hit list. If you proudly support a candidate, you should be proud and not ashamed if someone publicizes that fact. Except that liberals all over the country come to your home and businesses and attack you and your family if you do. That's not what the problem was. No one was targeted. You mean other than the names of the people that you published along with where they were employed? You knew what you did. Delete your account. Oh, good God. Oh, terrorist has a name in America, the radical right. If you did nothing wrong, whatever. I'm done with this guy. I'm done talking about it. He's a scumbag. Sorry, he just is a scumbag. That's a scummy, terrible thing to do. And it has nothing to do with the fact that they're public records. He knows what he did. It's a hit list. It's a target list. It's for now. It's like Maxine Waters saying, if you see him in the streets or you see him at the gas station, you go up to them and you tell them they don't belong here and this and that and this and that. They want you to harass the people who they disagree with. That's what they want. Here, let me click a couple of clicks here. So on that note, our article in American Greatness called Igniting Civil War. Government sponsorship of violence against opponents or complacency in the face of incitement to violence is a powerful tool of political regression. Regimes such as Cuba, Venezuela, Iran, Nicaragua, China, and other tyrannies have used such tactics to great effort. When mobs attack anti-government demonstrators, for example, the police either disappear or stand by watching. In American cities run by Democrats and on the U.S. college and university campuses, the authorities increasingly have been standing by as radicals do the dirty work of beating up or silencing conservatives. In societies riven by mutual hate, the people who control the police and public communication make all the difference. Where they maintain impartiality, as Germany's Weimar government as did Germany's Weimar government while the Nazis and communists struggled for primacy, partisan warfare tends to be resolved politically, though the results are harsh. When societal hatred or the partiality of authorities result in deaths, long smoldering cold civil war can blaze into Holocaust. We Americans are now facing the danger of civil war, thus ignited. We do not think of civil war this way because our civil war from 1861 to 1865 was less a conflict within society than it was a highly organized war between states. That war, notwithstanding, personal friendships and mutual esteem persisted on both sides, such as that between Ulysses S. Grant and prominent Confederate General James Longstreet. What we face now is worse. Classic civil wars from Thucydides' account of the Corcyraean Revolution of 431 BC to the Spanish Civil War of 1936 to 1939 tend to be far more bitterly murderous than anything that has yet happened in America. These wars ignite when public power abets or is perceived as having abetted. Violence in long-standing social struggles, when authorities treat opponents as outside the protection of laws, or when they criminalize political differences outright. Note that last line. When they criminalize political differences outright. The authorities also bear most of the responsibility for piling up and drying the partisan fuel that they then ignite. Thucydides tells us that the Corcyraean parties, adherents to the Peloponnesian War's opposing sides, simply sharpened their long-simmering conflict. It mattered little which of who the two first refused to accept losing a vote in the city assembly and accused the winners of improprieties. That sounds familiar. Accusing the winner of improprieties. Wow, what does that sound like? Reciprocally, they heated their cold civil war until one side shed blood. The spiral of violence then accelerated, and the city essentially depopulated itself. In the 1920s, Spain, the newly formed Communist Party, the socialists, anarchists, and various regional separatists spurred each other's hostility toward the country's Catholic royalist population. Where the left won local elections in May 1931, mobs of its supporters ravaged churches, raped nuns, and beat conservatives with impunity. As leftist violence spread to the rest of the country after the June national elections, conservative localities retaliated and the army began to plot against the Republic. That sounds familiar. The Spanish government turned conservative in 1934. That led to the Popular Front Alliance, consisting of primarily radicals, which narrowly won the 1936 elections. In the aftermath, a militant leftist squad leader was killed. As the police searched for the killer, one of their entourage murdered the country's leading conservative politician, Jose Calvo Sotelo. The army struck back. The atrocities committed by ordinary people on ordinary people dwarfed the army's horrors. Viva la muerte, Long live death is the ensuing war's most memorable saying. It starts with getting people accustomed to hating each other, and that starts at the top. Saying hateful things about one's opponents is a time-tested way of stoking supporters' enthusiasm, of building support for one's own side. But when blood is spilled, someone, then everyone else, tends to use it as a pretext for inciting more violence. That's the meaning of blood feud. And we do kind of have a little bit with that, the president. I'm not saying that he doesn't do that, but a lot of it is interpretation. And if you interpret someone as having evil intentions every time they're open their mouth, that's called a strategy. That's not reality. That's a strategy, and that's the strategy right now. The story of the contemporary American left's sponsorship of hate and violence begins around 1964, when the Democratic Party chose to abandon the southern constituencies that had been its mainstay since the time of Jefferson and Jackson. In less than a decade, the party found itself increasingly dependent on gaining supermajorities among blacks, upscale liberals, and constituencies of resentment in general, and hence began stoking their hate. Stoking their hate. For the past half century, America's political history has been driven by the Democratic Party's effort to fire up these constituencies by denigrating the rest of America. As elements of cynical calculation melded into self-images of righteous entitlement to rule inferiors. That's a very interesting way to put it. As elements of cynical calculation melded into self-images of righteous entitlement to rule inferiors, the boundaries between the party and the constituency's most radical parts have eroded. In the 21st century's second decade, explicit statements by the party's political principal figures, President Obama, Hillary Clinton, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, to name only a few, have led their opinions. I'm not sure what that means. I have to look that up. Led their opinions in power, as well as millions of followers, to think and act as if conservatives were simply on a lower level of humanity and should have their faces rubbed in their own inferiority. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo simply declared that pro-lifers and other conservatives have no place in this state. Yeah, it's funny how they want to ban you. They want to ban you from everything because you don't buy their line. Hello, Tyler. Hello, Check Your Logic. Welcome. As the media amplified and cheered such guidance from on high, it would be surprising if many ordinary followers have not concluded that harassing, if not harming, conservatives in restaurants, airports, as well as in their public functions is not just permissible, but praiseworthy. Yeah, funny how whenever you see that kind of stuff, there's people on the left who just praise it. And if thousands of persons who exercise power over cities, towns, and schools have not concluded that facilitating such harassment and harm is their duty. Police in leftist jurisdictions have stood aside as violent groups disrupted the 2016 Republican presidential campaign. Yeah, remember, they forget about that. All the people just going to rallies were getting beat up. There was people outside of rallies getting chased down and beat in the street and spit on and all that shit. Oh, they forget that. They don't. Oh no, that's not leftist. It's not the clearly the right is the most violent. And the 2017 presidential inauguration in Washington, D.C., as racial mobs have ravaged malls and shut down major roads, as conservatives have been attacked physically as they tried to speak or merely observed. The media have basically justified the violence. The other side has done nothing comparable. Yet. But since the ruling class's condemnation of conservatives as racist, environmental criminals, and would-be terrorists are becoming well-nigh universal, the probability of deadly attacks on conservatives of intolerable convictions or absolutions and assassinations rise to certainty. So does corresponding demand for protection and revenge. It would be surprising if excuse me, it would be surprising were political words from on high not to be among the factors that trigger mentally ill persons to act out their fantasies. Although the number of mass shootings in America has declined, oh, you wouldn't know that either. The number of mass shootings have declined in recent decades. The role of politics in the killer's derangement seems to have increased. In the closest call yet, a few months after 2017 inaugural, the Democratic Party activists who had supported Bernie Sanders and regularly posted violent rants against President Trump on social media opened fire on Republican congressmen practicing for a baseball game, nearly killing Representative Steve Scalise. The ruling class rushed to exonerate itself. Oh, yeah, they did. The ruling class's provocative bias has been on display subsequent to the recent outrages by mental cases. 22 killed in El Paso, Texas, and 9 in Dayton, Ohio. The first by someone who mixed anti-immigration rantings with radical environmentalism. The second, a purebred leftist. The bodies were still warm as Democratic presidential candidates vied to indict President Trump, his supporters, and yes, white men in general, for membership in non-existent, murderous white supremacist organizations. Yeah, that's the thing. Where are all the anyway? Where are all these white supremacist organizations? I mean, really, where are they? What group did the guy who killed the people in El Paso or the guy in California? What group was he a part of? What group was he doing that on behalf of? I'm just curious. The fact that many of the denouncers are white men only underlined their short-term political calculations. The congressman representing El Paso and its sheriff told President Trump to stay out of their city. Dayton's mayor said the same thing. Who can enforce dicta of that sort? Yeah, if the president's going to go to El Paso, he's going to go to El Paso. What should happen and what can happen when the real existing violent organizations of the left, Antifa and the several radical black organizations, try to exclude or to punish? Several cities, Portland, Oregon, and Charlottesville, Virginia, among them, have had their streets taken over. What happens when these organizations organize mobs to harass at least their least favorite people? What happens when some of them wind up dead? Well, I see Joaquin Castro gave you a list to check out, didn't he? At a certain point, the other side shoots back. It's always funny though. It's kind of like in a hockey game, or when there's a melee in a football game or something like that. Or it's always the person who retaliates who gets blamed. It's funny, and it's kind of that way here too. The violence that's been going on has been going on since I'm thinking of the current violence has always been centered around the people who were protesting Trump, and that was happening around 2015. People were attacking Trump supporters as they go to rallies and things. And then that's when you started seeing the protesters at the college campuses against conservative speakers, and they were starting to attack people. And what happened after that? Who showed up? Who was the first one? Well, what's the stickman guy's name? Base Stickman, or whatever. Is that what they called him? Base Stickman? He was the first to be retaliatory. Okay? He came in his armor and his stick, and there was video of him fighting back against these assholes who were attacking people who wanted to see these speakers, right? And all of a sudden, who were the bad guys? Was it the guys who were being attacked, or the ones who began retaliating, began saying, no, we're not going to put up with this shit anymore? And you started getting groups like the Proud Boys and like Patriot Prayer and all these people who are just normal people who are just like, you know what? This is bullshit. We're going to have a rally here because we don't think you should be able to shut us down. Now, who takes the biggest blame in the media? Well, the death of Heather Heyer cemented the fact that it was the people on the right who were violent, and nobody remembers the left being violent. Nobody. Oh, and then you have the people like ADL saying, oh, all right-wing extremist deaths were caused by people from the far right, even though they don't have any data to back it up. But you notice everybody goes back. You have to rewind the stream to work. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, you'll see the whole thing, Necro, eventually. Thank you for being here, though. Oh, wait. I'll go back here. Dawg Knight. The problem is they are in Texas. You go up to these people's homes, work, or persons, you may get shot. And if they get shot while self-defense is being used, it will push gun control. Yeah, you know what? That's probably part of the strategy. But yeah, it's people are always talking about all these violent right wing white supremacists whites whatever. Even in Charlottesville, I was at home watching different live streams of Charlottesville. Okay. Now, the jackasses on Friday night with the tiki torches, I just fuck those guys, right? FTG. But the day of the rally around the statue, when they wanted to they were protesting the statue coming down, and there was, thousands and thousands of counter protesters, the people who, the good guys, the liberal ones. And I'm watching this real time, and I'm watching different streams, and I'm watching different videos, and every time it was left attacking the right. The right were prepared to be attacked, but the left were attacking the right. And the police there didn't do anything, and then they closed down the event and decided that they were going to push all those people who were there to protest the statue coming down. They pushed them into the mobs of people. It was like a strategy. They wanted them to fight. They wanted something to happen. And the worst thing that could possibly happen happened. One jackass decides to drive his car the wrong way. Now, whether it was because he was being intimidated or being, threatened, whatever the reason is, he drove his car into people and killed somebody. So he's deserving of going to jail. Now, was that his purpose? Might have been, might not have been, but he ended up doing it. And as I saw that, I was like, God damn, someone got killed now. And now it's all on the right. And now you got the jackass in El Paso who supposedly has this manifesto. Now it's funny, every time I read a story about that now, for some reason they still don't know if he wrote it. They keep attributing to him. They attribute it to him. And it did go up on the net in a very short proximity of time to when he did the act. But if you notice, if you read the articles carefully, they still say allegedly attributed to him. They don't know. They don't know if it's to him. And they have, he's alive. So we're going to find out. And he's made shitty statements. Apparently apparently, I don't know. This is what the reports say, that he's admitted to his bad feelings about Hispanic people and whatever. But again, is he the action or the reaction? I don't know. So, we know that our ruling class, having largely made government into a partisan thing, America has crossed the threshold of revolution. While we have no way of knowing what lies ahead, we know that the spiral of political violence has already taken its first fateful turns, and that the logic of our partisan ruling class is pushing for more, which is what Joaquin Castro did yesterday. He's pushing more. He wants more. He says he doesn't. He says it's just, we're just publishing a list and we just thought people should know. Nope. He's pushing for more violence with that stupid tweet from yesterday. more on this. This is from Front Page. I think this might be David Horowitz's magazine. Identity politics, violence is tearing America apart. Americans can be one nation or many hostile tribes. It's by Daniel Greenfield. 3 years ago, a bloody summer of black nationalist violence claimed the lives of 8 police officers, with the massacre of 5 police officers by Micah X. Johnson. By the way, Micah Johnson, who killed the 5 officers in Dallas, he was a big Young Turks fan, and he often rebroadcast. What do you call it when you mirrored? He often mirrored Young Turks broadcasts about them complaining about police. You ever hear them try to say maybe we should take down the Young Turks for radicalizing this guy? You ever hear that? Claim the lives of 8 police officers with the massacre of 5 police officers by Micah X. Johnson in Dallas and the murder of 3 police officers in Baton Rouge by Gavin Long. Johnson had declared his support for the Black Lives Matter racial nationalist group and told police that he wanted to kill white people, especially white police officers. In the fall, Mark Lacan Payne tried to run over Phoenix police officers. Next spring, Corey Ali Muhammad went on a shooting spree in Fresno, murdering 3 white men. Muhammad and Long were both part of the Moorish Science Temple Black National Movement. Muhammad had posted Nation of Islam content which claims that white devils are subhuman. Long had admired the killing spree by Johnson. Payne had posted that the Caucasians need to be slaughtered like pigs, that they are right along with the niggas who serve and protect them. Long wasn't alone in viewing Johnson as a black nationalist hero. Former Miss Alabama described the racial nationalist killer as a martyr. Babu Omawale, a co-founder of the Huey P. Newton Gun Club, said, "The fact that Micah just got 5 of the bastards, that's what got you all upset right now." Yafu Balagoon, another co-founder of the Black Nationalist Group, named after the founder of Black Panther Pachu, wrote, "He shall be celebrated one day." While the white nationalist shooters of this year have been banished to 8chan, Johnson, Payne, and Long were radicalized and posted their rantings on Facebook. The outpouring of support for their acts of violence also took place on Twitter and Facebook, with no effort at censorship by the social media sites. The alternating mass shootings by white nationalists and black nationalists predated Trump. They're part of a cycle of violence going back decades, if not generations. The cycle of violence had largely died down until it was triggered by the resurgence of identity politics during the Obama administration. Hey! The rise of a new age of identity politics was not a response to injustice, but a cynical political strategy. Facing a more challenging political landscape after his original victory, Obama pivoted from universal appeals to racial nationalist rhetoric. Punish your enemies, he urged Latinos. Remember that speech when he said punish your enemies for his second term? Joe Biden told black people that Republicans were going to put you all back in chains. The racial nationalism became more strident as the political position of the Democrats weakened. Race riots were stirred up from Ferguson to Baltimore. The violence spiraled into mass shootings of police officers and white people. Violence was only the most explosive symptom of a deeper racial polarization. White nationalist hate groups, long considered a joke, experienced their biggest revival in decades. Oh, I wouldn't say that. Where are they? Where are they? You keep saying they're there, but boy, we're not seeing them. I've seen a couple of knuckleheads on the internet, and Richard Spencer, who gets interviewed by CNN when they're trying to help their agenda along, even if it ends up not helping. Black Lives Matter protests convulsed major cities. Christian churches were vandalized with graffiti reading, Negroes are the Israelites, while 2 synagogue shootings and a rash of swastika graffiti exploded in the news. The hate group revival was tapping into polarized racial attitudes. Their growth was not an outlier, but an expression of the deeper sickness of identity politics. Polls showed that perceptions of race relations on both sides had cratered. Politics had become driven by naked appeals to racial interests. America had become a fractured country whose inhabitants identified as members of warring tribes. The identity politics fracture of the country is motivated by the political roadmap of the Democrats. Now, let me stop here for a second, because I'm thinking about my own experience. And it's interesting. I don't have this experience other than online, and maybe that's where it's festering. That's where it's growing. I'm getting frustrated with Twitter because Twitter seems to be a place where you just want to have arguments with people you disagree with, and none of them are nice or productive. But that's the nature of the beast. Anyway, Trump had performed better with black voters than Mitt Romney, but black voters had become a larger share of the Democrat base. And the Democrats relied largely on racial appeals to mobilize their voters. That's all they rely on right now. That's all that they think that's their winning strategy. They thought, here's the thing. They thought that there was no way Hillary Clinton could win. 98% chance Hillary Clinton would win. And she got beat. I like to say Hillary Clinton lost an election to the second worst candidate in the history of American political life. Think about what I'm saying there. Anyway, she lost. And so now they had to come up with a justification that she lost. Oh, it's the Russians. The Russians stole the election for Donald Trump. So they pushed this Russian. Trump is a traitor. Trump is a Russian asset. Trump is a Russian spy. But in trying to push that agenda fell apart with the Mueller investigation and subsequent report. So now their strategy is, well, we could get him with this Russian thing. We're trying still. We're still holding ears. We're still going to try to get we're still going to try to get him with obstruction of justice of a crime that didn't exist. But we can't do that. So let's see. Well, in fact, have you heard anyone talk about the Russians lately? About Russian interference, other than with Mitch McConnell? Now they're throwing that at Mitch McConnell, as though. Well, I still say we're going to find out that the Russians really didn't hack the DNC. I got this feeling. I mean, first of all, as far as Hillary Clinton's server, nobody hacked that. Well, wait, no, I shouldn't say nobody hacked that. I think everybody hacked that server. We just haven't really found out about it yet. But the DNC one, I think we're going to find out that it wasn't Russians. There's plenty of evidence that it probably wasn't anything that they're talking about, and that whole indictment of the Russians is complete and utter bullshit. And in fact, the case against the two companies, the troll farms, those cases have fallen apart. The judge has already held our Justice Department in contempt on that case. But I digress. Where was I? But anyway, so they couldn't get Hillary on the Russian thing, or Trump on the Russian thing, and that fell apart. So what happened immediately, almost immediately after the Mueller testimony? Racist. 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 The strategy now is to call him a racist and to call him a white supremacist, to call him a white nationalist. Now, what? Let's say you accept that Trump is a racist. But now they're calling him a white supremacist and a white nationalist. Okay, you're going to call him a white supremacist and a white nationalist. Give me the policy that makes him that he's pushing in the United States right now. Tell me the policy he's pushing that is a white nationalist agenda or a white supremacist agenda. Give me the policy. You can't. And I'm going to start asking people that. Okay, tell me the policy that he's pushing that's a white. Because it's not the border stuff. The border stuff is not that's the same shit every other politician's been saying since Jimmy Carter about immigration. Everything Trump says has been said before. So it's not a racist policy or a white supremacist policy or a white nationalist policy when Jimmy Carter said it, or Ronald Reagan said it, or George Bush the first said it, or Bill Clinton said it, or George W. Jr. whatever said it, or Barack Obama said it. When Barack Obama deported more people than any other president in history. So that can't be a white nationalist or white supremacist agenda because it's the same shit that everyone else has been doing before him. Nothing's different. I mean, even the zero tolerance policy. Oh, children in cages. There's so many children in cages. There's no first of all, there's no children in cages. You know, every time that was a strategy. You know, after that thing was said, every freaking news person was saying children in cages after that because it's a talking point. It's a strategy. It's a corporate media talking point. Okay, so as it gives you the image. See, let's put it this way. I have little kennels for my dogs. You know, when we were training them to do their business inside, so they're kennels, and it's a cage, and so they sleep, and they still sleep in their kennels, even if I don't have them go in there. At night they sleep in their kennels, and that's their comfort there. But that's what you're supposed to think when they say putting babies in cages. Because it's a strategy. But now, and also they're finding out, here's the other thing. They kind of talk about the immigration issues, and they want the crossing the border illegally not to be illegal anymore, and they want to give, free health care to illegal people who, I'm going to say it this way. People who cross our border illegally, okay? They want to give free health care to them. They want to give them this, and they want to give them that. But nobody agrees with that. The public overwhelmingly disagrees with them. So they can't use that. And the Russia thing's gone to shit. So now their strategy is to see how many times they can say racist, white supremacist, and white nationalist in reference to the president. So now you have to ask them, what is it? Name the policy that is because someone said the other day, he has a white nationalist agenda. Okay, what's the white nationalist agenda? Tell me 4 or 5 policies that he's espousing that are specifically a white nationalist agenda. Because you know what? It's funny how when he's touting the unemployment rate for America, which is the lowest since 1950 or something like that, and when he espouses the lowest unemployment rate for blacks, Hispanics, Asians, women, whoever, how is that a white nationalist policy? Okay. His tax cuts, they go for the rich, but how is that a white nationalist policy? How is trying to secure the border a white nationalist policy? Is he proposing like a Richard Spencer agenda, a white ethno state here and everyone else go there? Is he moving anybody? Is he telling anyone who immigrated here from legally, is he telling any of them to leave? The other I was reading someplace on an Irish some website of Irish people. Do you know there's been the deportation of Irish nationals who are here illegally has gone up too? As far as I remember, most Irish people are white, right? So that must not be it. Now, granted, it's been like 30 total this year because there's not that many Irish people in the country illegally. So it's like when you say, well, 84% of all the tax cuts went to the rich. Well, that's because 84% of all taxes are paid by people who you would consider rich. If you pay the most taxes, you're going to get the most dollar amount of tax relief. Even though I got a tax cut, I'm paying less taxes because of President Trump, and I'm not rich. I'm thoroughly ensconced in the middle class. But I got a tax cut, but it's clearly I don't pay as much taxes as the guy who makes $10 million. So my tax cut's going to be less than theirs because they pay, probably 10 times what I make in taxes. So I'm not going to, you're right. The percentage of the tax cuts going to the rich is going to be much higher because I don't pay that much taxes anyway. How is that a white nationalist agenda? How are the trade deals that he's making a white nationalist? It's not. It's an American agenda. That's just it. It's not. We're all Americans. Okay. If the economic plan is supposed to rise the boat for Americans, did it do that? Yes, it did. Because everyone's benefiting from that economic upturn. That's not a white nationalist agenda. That's an American agenda. Okay? So, F off with that BS. The Democrats feared losing the black vote. Oh, that's, you know what? And that's just it. You're starting to see a lot of people, a lot of high profile people who are not white starting to support Trump. When he did that thing about Baltimore and Elijah Cummings' district, he started tweeting about that. And they came out and said, oh, this is so racist. It's so racist to call out this part of Baltimore, right? Elijah Cummings' district. Because Elijah Cummings is black. Oh, really? You can't criticize a black politician anymore? Oh, because if you criticize a black politician, no, you must be racist. But now I've been watching interviews of people who live in those areas. And they're like, I don't know. It's like, at least somebody's got to call it out. Thank you for bringing attention to this. People going down, then the people that went down to Baltimore and said, went down there and said, hey, we're going to help clean up here with you guys. We're going to come down here and help instead of just running our mouths. Al Sharpton went down there and gave a speech in front of a bunch of reporters. But how much trash did he pick up? He didn't, shoot. He picked up a microphone. Conservatives came down and picked up trash. But it's a white nationalist agenda to criticize Elijah Cummings. It's funny. He also criticized Nancy Pelosi. He also criticized Paul Ryan. He also criticized Jeff Sessions. He also criticized... He criticizes people in his own cabinet. He was criticizing the FBI director the other day. He appointed the FBI director. But it's a white nationalist agenda. Well, why? What makes it that? What specifically makes it a white nationalist agenda? I don't know. Because he's racist. Democrats feared losing the black vote, and the only way they knew how to keep it was by doubling down on the racial polarization that had divided the country and hollowed out their political party. Conspiratorial messages of racial victimhood were meant to stem the defection of black voters and increase turnout by spreading racial paranoia and hostility towards white people and Republicans. By 2014, what had been a cynical and divisive political strategy became a killing field as violence exploded in major cities, initially by mobs and then through acts of racial racial nationalist terrorism. The gunmen spreading terror and death are the manifestation of the identity politics strategy. Racial violence is a deliberate effort to polarize the country by sowing racial hatred. The gunmen in their manifestos often speak of a desire to radicalize and divide the country along racial lines. The objective of the killers attacking churches, shopping centers, and public streets is another brand of identity politics. White and black racial terror plays into stereotypes and hostilities on both sides. Beyond inspiring a small group of potential imitators, the shooters also reinforce the racial nationalism of the other side. They play into the identity. They play into the identity politics conviction that beneath the surface, a racial civil war is underway. Identity politics was born out of an effort by leftist activists to identify and mobilize potential supporters by breaking down a sense of national solidarity along the lines of group victimhood. Every act of terror breaks down national solidarity further and strengthens the appeals to race over nationality, which we got to stop that shit. Lessons about tolerance, white privilege, and racial consciousness don't end racism, they spread it. Yeah, isn't that... It's sad that's the truth. Because now you're dividing everybody into a little tiny group, and even the intersectional people are still going to divide themselves as a group. And that's why they can't even get along with each other. Because each little group has to have its own specialness instead of being one. What inhibits racism isn't leftist politics, it's nationalism. It's America first. Not white nationalism, but nationalism. Making us something that we identify with together. We are less likely to view each other as the enemy if we are all on the same team. Make America great again. Did he say make white America great again? Or did he say make Upper West Side New York great again? Or did he say, well, let's make these white people over here great again and just forget about these black people because they're not... Wait a minute. Are those black people over there Americans? Oh, yeah, you're part of that too. And some people see it, and some people don't want to see it because they have so much hate. But they say, oh no, it's them who are hateful. Their hate and intolerance. I hate them because they're hateful and intolerant. I'm not going to tolerate them because they're hateful and intolerant. That's interesting. When nationalism declines, then tribes arise. Identity politics is the politics of tribalism. Its group nationalisms are not positive affirmations of common strength, but negative identifications of a common enemy without and a common weakness within the victim group. And it's only natural for warring tribes taught that they are victims of oppression to turn violent. Nations make war on rival nations. When a nation fractures into rival nations warring with each other, acts of racial terror become commonplace. That is what's happening in the United States of America. The only way to stop racism is by rebuilding our common purpose as a nation. Now, I'm going to stop there on this one, but is Donald Trump the person to do that? Maybe, maybe not. But I'm seeing signs that not everyone's buying into the constant racial nonsense, okay? Because right now, what's clear to many, or people are beginning to see that, you know what, these network TVs, the network TV stations, they're just trying to create more conflict so they can get more views. But they're losing. They're starting to lose their viewerships because people are sick of them. And when I watched some videos of the people cleaning up in Baltimore this weekend, and what was interesting is that a lot of the local people in there. Now it really was a completely non-partisan thing that they were doing. But the people who live in those bad areas of Baltimore, the West Baltimore, the bad area of Baltimore, they realized that, you know what? At least the president paid attention to us. At least the president said something, you know? And when I was watching some interviews with them, and they were saying, okay, so do you think the president is a racist? He said, well, why would I think that? He's just trying to help. Elijah Cummings has been around for 30 years. What has he done? And so it's pretty fascinating watching this whole thing churn and turn into something. I have a feeling, and a lot of people are like, okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to support President Trump, but at least he is not afraid to say what he thinks. You know? So, do I even say it? I'm not going to say it yet. I'm not going to say it yet. I'll save that for another day just a thought that just came into my head. Democrats and their media eagerly denounced, without nationalism, different groups without nationalism, different groups will find their own purpose through a lens of group identity. These identities will be innately hostile to each other and the country they were formerly a part of. They will reject its founding principles for failing to serve the interests of their tribes, and they will destroy them. Democrats and their media eagerly denounce these behaviors when they manifest in white nationalism, while upholding them when they appear in black nationalism. And that's the problem. The politics of racial nationalism are either good or bad. They can't, however, be good for one race and bad for another. When you divide a country along racial lines, the divide will cut along both sides, not just your side. The resurgence of racial nationalist violence won't end until we affirm the certainty of the nation over the identity politics that has fractured our political and cultural life. Until we get rid of identity politics, racial nationalist violence will continue tearing apart communities across a divided United States. And that was by Daniel Greenfield. Hello, Captain Brambles. How you doing? Good morning, Seamus. I don't know if I said hi to you yet, but I'm saying it now. Good morning. Hey, I said I'm a house redacted. I won't bend to the field. Redacted levels cleaning up in their own communities. You know what's funny? As I watched that, though, people in the community also joined in. They weren't just letting other people do it, and they cleaned up at least. I know they had, in the one area they were in, they had 3 long, dumpsters. They said 30,000 pounds of garbage, or maybe it was 3 tons of garbage. They got rid of a lot of garbage in that area, and it was pretty cool. That was a cool thing. All right, let's just check Twitter real quick, and then we'll get out of here for the day, because running a little behind. Let's see. Getting it now. I am just bracing myself. I'm bracing myself for Twitter today. Oh, Sofane's back. My buddy Sofane got suspended off Twitter for a little while, but he's back. Anyway, so on Twitter today, trending on Twitter, number 1, it is Wednesday. So, of course, on Wednesday, something called Wednesday is going to be trending on Twitter. And today's Wednesday thing is called Wednesday Wisdom. And today, the top Wednesday wisdom is: maturity is when you manage to handle those who have mishandled you without losing your sense of peace. Wow. Okay, that's good. I like that. I'm still going to make that tweet for Joaquin Castro if nobody's done it by the time I get back this afternoon. Hey, life. Oh, here's a good one too. Life is short. Do stuff that matters. There you go. All right. Wednesday wisdom. Yeah, I hear you. All right. Number 2 on the list is Marnie. Something to do with Pokemon, so I don't really care. Number 3, Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is trending because he's got people mad. So we're going to watch the little video that he pissed people off with. Fox News host Tucker Carlson called concerns about the rise of white supremacy in America a hoax. I wouldn't call it a hoax, but I would call it way, way overblown. It's a strategy. It is not a reality. Nobody. Oh my gosh. Anyway, let's hear. Let's look at 41 seconds of what he said here.
What the?
Oops, hang on.
The thing is a lie.
Hang on.
But the whole thing is a lie. If you were to assemble a list, a hierarchy of concerns or problems this country faces, where would white supremacy be on the list? Right up there with Russia, probably. It's actually not a real problem in America. The combined membership of every white supremacist organization in this country would be able to fit inside a college football stadium? I mean, seriously. This is a country where the average person is getting poorer, where the suicide rate is spiking. White supremacy, that's the problem. This is a hoax. Just like the Russia hoax. It's a conspiracy theory used to divide the country and keep a hold on power. That's exactly what's going on.
I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it out loud. He's not wrong. I didn't say it very loud. He's not wrong. I'm sorry. And there's just different people. The people replying to this. Tucker Carlson is literally our greatest ally. Neo-Nazi anger angler. Yeah, whatever. Tucker's correct. Everyone who opposes my politics is a white nationalist narrative is being pushed by the media and Democrats. It is the latest version of the damaging and divisive Russia collusion hoax. It's both dangerous and false. It is. It's again, this is an agenda being pushed by people who have no other way to fight Donald Trump. Russia didn't work. Obstruction's not working. In fact, a lot of the people who push that hoax and the origins of that hoax are about to get indicted themselves, most likely. There's going to be some people going in front of judges and juries pretty soon. That the guy that John Durham, who's investigating that, has a grand jury panel. Did you know that? You don't know it thanks to the news. He has a grand jury impaneled for some of these things. Somebody's going to get indicted. I wouldn't be shocked if Andrew McCabe got indicted. I wouldn't be surprised if Peter Strzok got indicted. It's Peter Strzok, who is suing the FBI for wrongful termination. We're going to see which case goes to court first, his indictment or his civil suit. That'll be interesting. Oliver Willis, my favorite gadfly for several years, over a decade now. White supremacy is definitely a hoax, as white supremacist Tucker Carlson says. Oh, by the way, here's a recreation of the room where George Washington, the first president of the United States, had the black people he owned sleep every night. Hey, dumbass. We're not talking about 1770. You moron. We're talking about right now. How is white supremacy affecting your life right now, Oliver? Certainly not affecting mine. Now, maybe I live in a different place because you live in D.C. or Maryland, wherever the hell you live. But you know what? The concentration of white people in Minnesota is much higher than in where you live. I'm not affected by white supremacy. What's the white supremacy doing against you right now? Jack. Stupid people. Brian Stelter. Tucker Carlson's nonsensical claim that white supremacy is actually not a real problem in America came after several days of scrutiny of the El Paso suspect's racist views and the forces that have radicalized the suspect. Brian Stelter's a broken record, man. Yes, that case had a supposed manifesto online, and is anyone supporting that asshole? Where are all the white supremacists in the media and in the government that are supporting that asshole? Where? Anybody? Anybody? Where are all the white supremacists who are like, way to go, way to kill those 22 people? And I hope you got a lot of Mexicans while you were at it. Where are they? Nobody's supporting that guy. Everybody hates that guy. Hell, Kellyanne Conway, FTG, that guy, the shooter. She didn't say those exact words, but might as well have. Where are all the white supremacists cheering on the El Paso shooter? Find me one. Anybody. Tucker Carlson saying there aren't enough. There aren't enough white supremacists in America to fill a football stadium. Is totally inconsistent with the Trump bragging about the size of his rallies. Fuck you. And yes, I just swore on my stream. Fuck you. Okay? What happened to you, Tucker? Joe Walsh? What happened to you? He's right. You're trying to scare people into voting for someone else because you're mad this guy became president, so you're trying to scare people into voting him for someone else by bringing up the boogeyman of white supremacy. Like I said, Richard Spencer, frequent guest on CNN, couldn't fill a conference room in the Hoboken Howard Johnsons. And then now MSNBC explaining the similarities between the El Paso Shooters Manifesto and racist, bigoted rhetoric from people like Tucker Carlson. On Fox News, Tucker Carlson arguing that white supremacy is a hoax used to divide us. FTG to all these motherfuckers. Get me off this shit. Centoya Brown has been released from prison. Centoya Brown is released from prison, according to the Tennessee Department of Corrections. Initially sentenced to life in prison for killing a man who bought her for sex when she was 16, Centoya Brown was released to the parole supervision after spending more than just a decade in jail. This is the woman who, she was a prostitute, underage prostitute, 16 years old. She killed the man and robbed him. John, one of her clients, killed him, robbed him, got sentenced to life imprisonment. And then they, I want to be sensitive here. She was being controlled by a pimp. Basically robbed the guy after she killed him, shot him in the back of the head, robbed him, brought in all the money to the pimp. Now it's funny because now the wording changes so often. Like New York Times, Cynthia Brown served 15 years after a life sentence for killing a man who had picked her up when she was a teenage trafficking victim. That's an interesting way to put prostitute, but yeah, in a sense, yes, it's accurate, but it's not accurate as to what happened. But anyway, she was sentenced to life in prison. She was granted clemency. And you know what? It was when she was 15 years old or 16. I can't remember which. She was sentenced when she was 16. She spent 15 years in prison, got her shit together, tries to be a good person, granted clemency. I'm not even against that. But the way they changed the story, there are people who are adamantly against it because she killed him in cold blood and stole stuff from him and then gave that to her pimp. But she's 15 years old, and I don't know if you can make decisions like that when you're 15 years old. Your brain don't work yet. She spent 15 years in prison. If she got her shit together, she ends up being a good citizen. I hope that it works out for her. But to make it like she didn't do nothing, that's what they were trying. Oh, she didn't do. She was a victim. No, when she was 15, she knows she did. I'm just hoping she got her shit together. Anyway, she's trending. Good for her. Home Alone. Oh, they're gonna remake Home Alone. Why? Why, Disney? Why? Why remake Home Alone? Just play the reruns during the holidays every year. It's ah. Why remake Home Alone? Do something original. Write a new movie. Write a new Christmas classic. Somebody at Disney has to have an original thought, because all they're doing now is remaking every superhero movie or every animated movie into live, whatever, pseudo live things with CGI, and remaking movies they already made. You cannot improve on Home Alone. It's a original and it's classic. It's like if Hallmark Channel tried to remake It's a Wonderful Life, I'm sorry, it will never have the charm of the original. Because Disney is creatively bankrupt. Yes, they are. Wednesday Thoughts is number 6. Wheezing is number 7, having to do something. That has something to do with Pokemon, I bet. Yeah, what? What the hell? Okay. Apparently, Galarian Wheezing Duck. Anyone know something about? I don't know. I don't care. It's something has something to do with animation. I don't know. Zigazoon, Obstagoon. 3 years with Blackpink. Oh, this is isn't that? You mean to say 3 years with Blackpink is trending? What is this? You mean to say Jenny saved up her film camera memories in a private account since May just to share it with Blinks on our anniversary? Shit, I'm not crying. You are? I don't know what even Blackpink is. 3 years of Black... Do not. Don't even. Okay, Is that a K-pop band? It probably is. I don't care. Steve Smith is trending. What did Steve Smith do? You give me 2 points, I'm gonna slap the shit out of you. Classic Steve Smith is hilarious. He's okay. What is he?
So I got him on my bench. DJ Moore.
Okay.
Should I? I ain't benching DeAndre Hopkins. Should I let John Brown go on bench?
That's kind of disrespectful. Like John Brown being an asset, he got a lot of choice selections. I'm giving you insider trade, so don't report me. You know.
No, I'm just saying. So should I take him off the bench? Because currently he on the bench.
Yeah. You got to start.
What if I just flex? What if I put him at flex?
I don't understand that.
That just mean an extra guy. Like
Yeah.
Put him at flex? Because he's not a real wide receiver yet. He's just kind of developing.
I don't want to say all that now.
I'm just talking about some fantasy.
He's talking about the guy right in front of him. All right, so he's talking about his fantasy team, and the guy's talking about standing right next to him. Okay, that's kind of funny. That's why Steve Smith is trending. Purple Heart Day. What could be? Let's see. Today we are reminded of the tremendous sacrifices made by members of our armed forces. To all our Purple Heart recipients, on behalf of a grateful nation, we thank you for your service. Today is Purple Heart Day. To the 1.8 million Purple Heart recipients, we honor you. So I did not know that. I didn't know that there was a Purple Heart Day. So there you go. That's why that is trending. All right. Beyond that, something about soccer. David Luiz. That's got to be. That's got to be. Oh, that's another soccer thing. I don't care. Sidney Crosby and Rotom. So that's it. That's all for today. Hey y'all. It's that time. Of course, it's beyond that time because I always go over. But thank you all for being here today. I hope my blowing of the gaskets didn't hurt anybody. None of it came through the screen and But anyway, we're here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, 2 p.m. GMT. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, hit the share button. That'll help them even more. When you see the stream go up, share this. And if you haven't done so already, hit the like button before you go. And if you'd like, we also do Streamlabs, what do you call it? Super chats, if you ever want to do super chats or donations to the channel as I'm replacing things. Thank you. And again, a heartfelt thank to all of you who have been doing donations. That's how I've been able to replace some of the equipment I lost that was stolen when I was in San Francisco. So I couldn't be more humbled by the fact that some of you tried to help me out for that. So I appreciate that. It's that time though. I gotta go. My name is Dawg Knight. And I am out of here. Have a lovely Wednesday. Bye-bye. Hey, this is Dawg Knight, and I want to thank you for joining me today on the Dawg Knight channel. Before you go, if you like what you saw and you're not already subscribed, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button down below, and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, and 2 p.m. GMT. A special thanks to all supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through our Streamlabs link in the description below. Thanks again, and until next time, I am Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here.